I got to go to my favorite place on the planet today, which is the Nintendo store in New York. A store dedicated to the merch of my favorite company is always going to put a smile on my face. I just love being in there and seeing everybody running around, picking up all the plushes and amiibos. The Nintendo store is a great place to buy merch. There's cool oddities and stuff to look at that cycles in and out. And I mean like old consoles. Sometimes they have an amiibo display, and they actually have a really good selection of games. The only problem is you have to pay full price. And I'm not just talking about Nintendo games, which obviously are always full price, but they have third-party games in there that are still full price way longer than they should be. To this day, they're still selling Balan Wonderworld for $60 in the Nintendo store. So great selection of games, but it's going to be full price no matter what. So just know that coming in. They had a bunch of the Nintendo World Championship, like big box editions that were still there. Anytime I read online about a shortage of some game or item, I can pretty much count on there being some at the Nintendo store. Nintendo World Championship's been out for a couple weeks. I don't know how hard it is to find at a GameStop or Best Buy, but they had a bunch of them still today at the Nintendo store. They also had in a display case all the everything in there, like if you buy the big box edition, all the promo items that you get inside, and there was some really cool stuff in there. There were pins and art cards and obviously that gold NES cartridge. They definitely went all out, and it seemed like a good deal for $60. I just right now don't want to buy like a game just for the merch. It did seem like a good amount of collectibles for the $60 they're asking for. They also have a bunch of kiosks and setups that you can play Switch on, and I was watching people play NES World Champion. It looks definitely like a lot of fun. I haven't picked it up yet. I'm not sure if I will. It's probably like a wait and see type game. Also, one sec. On the way home, I got this guy. Which I'm very happy about. This is like a towel bath mat type thing. There was like randomly a street fair going on between Nintendo World and my apartment, and this guy's whole like street store was just filled with bath towel fabric type thing of like every character and movie imaginable. You had Pikachu, Kirby, the red super mushroom, a bunch of stuff from anime, a bunch of stuff from film. And the Squidward one caught my eye. I like Squidward, I like the colors, and I like how he was sort of like peering out. It actually fit the fact that it was a rectangle kind of well. A lot of the ones were vertical, but you'd want to have them horizontal. So the art would just necessarily have to be on its side. So I really liked that the Squidward was actually made to be horizontal. And so I was really happy to pick that up. Stanley Parable's been pretty cool so far. I have to say, thought I didn't really know what that game was, but my quick description at the end of last video kind of summed it up well. It was story driven, nothing is as it seems. I read later that it's literally a Source Engine Half-Life 2 mod, originally it was. So I kind of knew more. I was more accurate than I was expecting. I'm excited to go through more of Stanley Parable. I don't think I'm gonna 100% it, but I do want to see a really good representative sample of the different endings. So as long as I'm still finding endings without getting too confused or it being too hard to find, I think I'm gonna keep going with it. Also, right now, Mario 64, this is a Mario 64 PACE qualifiers weekend, so that's very exciting, and to have that on in the background. So yeah, with that said, let's see what endings we can find with another run through of Stanley Parable. Enjoy. Okay, where were we?
This is the story of a man named Stanley.
I don't want to rewatch this. Right, okay. This looks right. My desk is, I think we're in the expansion now because this is not what the outside of my desk used to look like.
Psst. Stanley, come over here. In the vent. I want to show you something.
Alright, that's too interesting. I'm gonna go in there. Oops, just move my mouse here. Woo. Yep, and he's dead. I really liked
Okay, you remember how cheap and unsatisfying the new Ultra Deluxe content turned out to be? Well, it got me thinking about the past and how much better the Stanley Parable used to be. So I made something special and tucked it away here where the game's developers won't find it. Just our little secret. Take a look.
Whoa.
I call it the Memory Zone. It's where I've been storing all my favorite memories so I can relive the peak experiences of my life whenever I want.
I wish I had that.
Experiences like the launch of the Stanley Parable on PC.
It's funny how it's like you can't leave. Stay.
You see, Stanley, doesn't the Memory Zone remind you of how wonderful Stanley Parable was before it was sullied with a cheap re-release?
Russian?
Remember back in October of 2013, when the game originally launched?
I remember.
Back then, video games had integrity.
That was a while
Back
ago.
then, it all meant
Back then, I was playing Team Fortress 2. That's why I didn't play this. I was playing TF2. That is... I remember when Firefox used to look like that. It's like on Windows 7, I think. I wonder what the best game that came out in 2013 was. I don't know if, like, maybe... Portal 2 was out already. That was, like, 2010 or 2011. It's possible. Maybe, like, I don't know if, like, Bioshock Infinite came out then? 2013. This is so funny. Oh, there's the, like, went crazy on the side of the street ending. Oh, this is so nice. This is like the one time following the going the like the side way didn't screw me over.
And over here is where I keep reviews of the Stanley Parable.
This is like
the stunning triumph of
Destructoid.
games journalism. 10 out of 10.
This is like
from
the developers
Destructoid.com. James
jerking
Stephanie
himself
Sterling
off
writes, and I
area.
quote, "Where so many games that aspire to be more than games end up less than any form of art, Stanley Parable strives and then succeeds to be every game ever created." Did you hear that, Stanley? Every game ever created. That's how grand and all-encompassing the original Stanley Parable was. It was literally
can't get over
every
it.
game ever created. It
Persona
was
3.
Skyrim. It was
I really
Persona
like
3.
Persona
It was
3.
all
Persona
of them.
3
And
was the
now,
first
it's nothing.
Persona game I ever
It's no games
played,
at all.
and
It isn't even the
I
Stanley
did not play
Parable
Persona
anymore.
4, but I
It's
played
just a
Persona
husk
5, and it
of
was
nothing.
amazing.
Lifeless husk.
And I
An
wonder if
hour
Persona
you
3 is
elevate
worth
a
going
content.
back to anymore, now that I've played 5. It seemed like 5 was like so great. But 3 seemed amazing for the time. No, played it on a fat PS2. Ooh. Nice try. This is a really nice house. Must have been him making it and whatever. Dev tool that is. There's like a source engine thing. Did you get a car? Did you get a free car? I wonder if you can buy this game physical on Switch.
Here's another moving passage, this time from GameSpot.
Oh my god.
The Stanley Parable is both a richly stimulating commentary on the nature of choice in games,
Dude,
and
enough.
one that offers some of the most enjoyable, surprising, and rewarding choices I've ever been confronted with in a game. 9 out of 10. Don't you get it, Stanley? The game was perfect. It didn't need anything else. It didn't need new content. It just needed to be left alone.
No one needs
to spend
this.
the rest of time collecting dust in the hallowed hall of beloved video game memories.
I wish this game had a jump button, except in that like circle.
These were simpler times, Stanley. But I wouldn't give to go back to have it all over again.
That must have been really exciting.
Hang on. I don't recall this part of the memory zone before. What's this? What's down here?
Oh my god, the
No.
Steam
God,
reviews.
no. Stanley, it's a collection of reviews from Steam, the online video game distributor.
Oh
I haven't
no,
looked
it's
at
gonna be a
these in years.
cesspool.
I can't even imagine what's
No,
being
no,
collected
no.
down here. Surely these reviews were glowing as well. weren't
This
they?
game tries to be funny and ironic, but it's would not recommend.
Honestly, I could not be bothered to play this game to full completion. The narrator is obnoxious and unfunny, with his humor and dialogue.
While he's talking, I'm gonna look up right now what Stanley Parable's rating on Steam is. I'm curious.
Funny.
Ugh,
I'm trying to make a
hold on,
serious
let me
work
keep
of
going.
I suppose I could write up a handful of gags to insert into the Stanley Parable, but the game is already such a densely layered web of profound
Yeah, I feel like I'm playing
philosophical
Half-Life right
insights
now.
that I can't even imagine where I'd have the room to stick them.
Steam reviews. Bum. Oh, that was a good one. But, ooh.
Okay, let's see what this one
All
says.
right, hold on. The
Well, the
Stanley.
idea for the game is good. For someone who prefers non-linear games, this preachiness gets annoying fast. Preachy? Stanley? I'm not preachy, am I? You can tell me if I'm preachy. Honestly, you can.
This game is
It's
94%
actually quite shocking
on
to me.
Steam
I
across
always- to be honest, I
26,000
always
user
thought that the
reviews.
game's
That's pretty
dialogue
good.
was rather terse to begin with.
You had to search hard to
How
find
much fluff
these
I
not
cut from the
recommended.
game to get it to feel as light and airy as
What about the
Well,
original?
I always thought it did, but maybe it wasn't. Dear, what an awful memory to have to hold on to. These black marks on my otherwise unimpeachable track.
92% across 39,000.
Like a failure. Like I
That's a
let these
lot.
people down. Perhaps the Stanley Parable isn't quite as sterling as I always remember.
That's a very good track record. Did very well. Another creative reviews or two. Now it wants me to kill myself.
What's this one got to say? You constantly have to stop doing anything so the narrator can catch up with his long-winded explanations of what's happening. I wish there was a skip button.
You know, most games should have a skip
skip
button for cutscenes.
Well, yes.
Because I should be able to play things my way. I feel like this is an exception, because it's all
Maybe letting you
cutscenes.
skip ahead for just a moment, surely it couldn't hurt. Not if it means we can strike these negative reviews from the record. Only positive reviews of the Stanley Parable. That's my motto today, and it's always been my
The
motto.
water
I'd do
temple.
anything for the customer, Stanley. Yes, a skip button we shall have.
Oh. This is like the basis of the
And here
movie
it is.
Click.
Go ahead and give it a shot.
You don't want to once you start being able to click through stuff.
You're back, you see.
It's
You were
too
only frozen in
addicting.
time for a few minutes, but it was plenty of time for me to deliver a long, rambling monologue.
Then you
full
start
of
missing everything.
unnecessary verbal flourishes and lengthy ruminations on the nature
It's a
of
big
choice
time
and
be careful what you
failure.
wish for
Of course,
situation.
I happen to believe it was perhaps one of my more profound such ruminations. Not that, of course. Well, there, sport. You really did catch me rambling on a bit, didn't you? But that's the power of the button. The minute I start to go off on a thoughtless display of self-absorption, it's
yeah.
right. Okay, welcome back, Stanley. Now, I should say that the amount of time the button has been skipping through is becoming longer and longer. That
I was
last
just
one
wondering how much time is
I want
skipped,
to say
so
maybe 30,
now I know.
45 minutes. It's not unendurable by any means.
Alright.
Well,
They clearly want me to
Stanley,
do this.
Stanley, please don't push the button again. It's been 12 hours.
This is just like Click.
You've just been frozen there. I don't know why the skips are getting longer, but they're really, truly getting longer. And my God, there's no way out of the room. Oh, Stanley, you're back.
Ooh.
You're back.
The-
Oh, my goodness. I have someone to talk to again. Stanley, I think
The
it's-
plant is dead. The lights are out. I'm gonna die of starvation.
Oh, hello. It's you. You're here again. Welcome. I have had time to think about you and about us and about everything we've
If you
been
start
through.
complaining to
I've
me, I'm
had
just gonna
so
skip it.
much time, I stopped keeping track after a year. Have you ever sat down in one place and not moved for one entire year? Let me describe it for
I
you.
forget.
To begin with, there is only regret. There is only the turn.
Stop guilting me. What? He's dead. Narrator? Narrator? as he's sometimes called.
But they didn't understand the game was never meant to be funny. It was meant to have a point. It was meant to speak to the human condition. But
He's still on.
Jokes? Where are the jokes? They bemoaned, they screamed, they gnashed their teeth and said, entertain us. It wasn't enough. They had to leave a pathetic little thumbs-down review and make all of their pitiful demands. But then, he's talking too much, they said.
What he doesn't know is that you can't please everyone.
The end is never the end, is never the end, is never the
So that's
end,
how you say it.
Is never the end, is never the end, is never the end.
I was wondering that on the loading screen. The end is never the end, the end is never the end, is never the end, is never the end. Oh, would it be able to leave soon? Okay. Really wish I had a jump button. Oh, cool. Nature is... It's gonna start raining in here. Ew. Ew. Now it's very cursed. It used to be this beautiful garden, and now it's just like ash. When am I gonna get abducted by... Uh-oh. That might be a problem. What am... Oh, sweet. Wow. I've come to rely heavily on that button. I don't know if I'm able to last out here. Alright, I'm going back. I doubt the button will be working, but... This used to be a whole water, river, whatever. Let's see if this will... Come on. Yeah, I didn't think so. End of the line. Oh. Okay. That was quite the ending.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Now it's like not... Oh.
Oh, good. You noticed my sign. Yes, I have something very exciting to show you.
Better not be another review bomb museum. But I'll give it one more chance. This is like the back of Portal 2. Loading. Elevators.
You see, Stanley, I've been reflecting on the Stanley Parable and about how roundly disappointing this Ultra Deluxe version has turned out to be. The original Stanley Parable was a landmark, and any new content for it should live up to that legacy. So forget this Ultra Deluxe nonsense. I say we take it one step even further. Which is why I'm very proud to announce for the first time ever, the Stanley Parable 2.
Oh, hey. This is so funny.
You see, isn't this far superior to a measly re-release with a few minor additions? Think of all the new territory we'll cover with a fully fledged sequel. An entirely new experience.
It's a Mac.
Built from the ground up. Why, there are so many possibilities. It could go in so many different directions. This is what fans have truly been asking for. Calling it the Stanley Parable 2 is just so much catchier than Ultra Deluxe, don't you think? Ultra Deluxe.
This office is newer, but it's somehow more cursed because it's like all gray. At least the other one had color.
It's future-oriented. It screams progress and innovation and long-term franchising potential.
Google Sheets, cursed.
Now, to be clear, I haven't quite nailed down what exactly the Stanley Parable 2 is going to be, but let's take a look at some of the features I've been developing for it. I figure that if I can loosely organize a handful of interesting concepts, that surely the game will sort of naturally spring up around them. It'll all work itself out. Game development is much more of a fuzzy magic than anything
Dark Souls
scientific
2.
or logical, really.
These are hilarious posters. New content, new features, big letters. Big letters. Bus. Oh, I gotta go all the way around. This is so funny. It's like people expect sequels to be such a big deal, especially when it's not a multiplayer game. Alright, the new features. The Stanley Parable version. The button that says the name of the player that is playing the game. Okay, hold on. So big. Let's just go one at a time. Okay.
For the Stanley Parable 2, I asked myself, what do players really want?
It's like
And of
big
course,
and padded.
The first and most obvious answer is that they want to be individually recognized and validated as people. So
People
with that
do
in
want
mind,
that.
My first addition to the game is this button, which speaks the name of the person playing the game.
Is it really gonna know?
Isn't that wonderful?
No.
So, I should have clarified. Right now, the button only says the name Jim. But of course,
This is also funny, like businesses always try to sell stuff that's not actually developed yet, but just to like drum up interest, and then they develop it later.
Simulate the full experience of this feature.
So it's like, oh, the button only says Jim, but if you're interested, we'll make it say whatever
Here
name
we
you
go.
want.
Let's take a deep breath, clear your mind, forget whoever you are, and simply become a person named Jim. I want you to imagine yourself living as Jim, sleeping and waking as Jim, falling in love and being heartbroken as Jim.
Jim.
Whoa, hold on. I wasn't finished setting up the backstory. If you don't properly roleplay as Jim, then you'll never understand the impact of this button. Otherwise,
But I
it's
was
just a stupid
properly.
button that says somebody else's name. Okay, we're doing it again, and this time let me finish first.
Let me finish.
Now, allow yourself to become Jim.
There's so many new features, I'm never going to be able to get to them if I just have to press the
Playing
Jim
Frisbee
button.
on the weekends as Jim. Staying up
All
all
right,
night
let's let
with
him
popcorn
keep
and horror
talking.
movie sleepover as Jim. Developing a crippling substance addiction as Jim.
Jim.
Rediscovering yourself through fringe religious groups as Jim. And finally, dying a slow death at an old age, surrounded by members of your cult as Jim. Do you feel it in your soul? Are
Yes!
you really, truly Jim
Yes!
now?
Yes!
Then please step forward and press the button.
Huh.
Jim.
Yes, you see. What a
And it's
thrill,
also
what
like
a
people
rush,
like presenting
what a
things as if it's like the next, like the greatest thing ever, and it's just like, dude, who cares?
Jim.
They think they're Steve
Even
Jobs, but they're
harder the
not.
second time, if this were the only new feature in the Stanley Parable 2, it would still be worth the money. Let's take a break from the Jim button. I'm too emotionally drained from all of this personal
Yes.
validation.
Let's keep going, shall we?
Jim.
Whoa there, cowboy. Sometimes a person can be too much.
Yeah, let's
Jim.
keep going.
I'm putting the Jim button away. Otherwise, soon you'll start to lose all sense of who you actually are.
You know, they tricked me. I really thought it was gonna like say my Steam username or something, but like that would have been too good.
I suppose I could allow only people named Jim to play the... An epilogue would be fun, wouldn't it, Stanley? Yes, yes, it would go at the end.
Yes.
Well, we'll figure that out later.
Is that me? Employee 427. Nope. No, 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 no. Free achievement. Get it now.
You know what? Let's bring the jump circle back for Stanley Parable 2 as well. It's... Oh, wait. You already spent all your jumps the first time we saw the jump circle.
You're supposed to give me more.
I suppose it can just be a nice decorative piece then. Okay, I'll be honest, I haven't yet decided on this one. I think that in the new version, the office could use a bit of decoration, like balloons. But I'm undecided on Get Well Someday and Happy 12th Birthday. Which would you go with?
Why would there be 12-year-olds?
You know, sometimes when you solicit another person's opinion, it makes you realize that you knew which one you actually really wanted all along. Happy 12th birthday, step-niece, it is.
Very Nintendo of them to just send Apple to just decide what we want and not let us change any settings.
Maybe I should have gone with... No, I've made my decision, we're moving on.
That was ridiculous. Well, I'm not a physics guy, so I don't really understand that. Not going in there yet. I want to check out the other features. Get me my achievement before we go. This is ridiculous.
Now here's something special. You remember that broken test achievement that got left in the game on accident? Well, I'm developing a technology to simply give you the achievement.
It's the first
You see, you'll come to this
fully
fever and
automatic
the
achievement
will be
generating
given to you.
machine.
It's okay, perhaps I should have clarified. This is technology that will exist.
Say-
Right now, the
once
achievement
again.
is still fully broken. I'm not a wizard, Stanley, but I guarantee it will be fixed in the sequel to at last satisfy the hordes of ravenous fans all over the world who have been uproariously demanding this feature. Gamers, we hear you. And I promise
Gamers.
it will happen.
That's so funny. Okay, it doesn't work. Kind of cool computers and mixing boards. Let's keep going. Yeah, I can tell you in real life that that is a classic trick from the emerging competitor company book is you kind of just pitch ideas and it doesn't actually exist yet, but you have your salespeople talk as though speak on call as though they exist, and then if enough people are interested, you make it.
Collectibles. Now it's a real video game.
Is this
In
gonna
the
kill
Stanley
me?
Parable 2, you'll run around gathering up these miniature Stanley figurines. And what's truly innovative is that there will be no reward for collecting all of them.
This time you'll
I
get
don't want to stifle the
nothing.
intrinsic joy of watching a number go up. You simply collect all of them, and then you move the hell on with your
Whoa.
life.
That's so funny. That was so funny.
God, it really is the worst when you collect.
I like
every video game,
collectathons,
and then they
honestly.
give you a big fancy reward for it. Absolutely tragic.
There's a lot of things. There's a lot of stuff. Let's go. I'm fine. It's whatever. Actually, let's go. Before we do that, let's go to that movie theater I saw. Let's see. You walk so slow in this game when the environments are this big. Where was that? I don't have the best sense of direction. I think it was over here. Possibly. Yes. Yes.
Stanley, here's an idea that I'm truly fond of. It's never been done before in a video game. This is, in fact, a hole that you can fall down forever.
Oh, I'm
That's
down.
right. Infinite falling. You can fall until the end of time, if you like. A stunning leap forward for video games as a medium.
Alright. This better be worth it. That's a very funny.
You see, isn't it wonderful? One of my more ingenious concoctions, if I do say so. Now then, since you've gotten to see the infinite hole, you can press the teleport button to pop back up to
I don't know
the
what
top,
button that
and we
is.
can continue onward.
This is so funny. It reminds me of the infinite pit in Mortal Kombat 4 when you lose.
But I do
Ooh.
recommend you use the
This is cool.
teleport to go back to the top.
Look at this.
Sooner rather than
Boop, boop,
later
boop, boop, boop,
spectrum
boop.
of things.
Yes, fine.
Great. Now, I'm very excited to show you even more of my ideas for the sequel.
What if I fall in by accident? Alright, let's get out of here. This is these are very long, drawn out new ideas. I feel like the base game we were seeing like ending after ending in a few minutes each. This is really funny though. This is really funny. This is like going to a trade show where like everyone's stupid like product display thing. Big convention center. It's like a convention center when everything there is like nothing you care about. All right.
Oh, goodness, Stanley, this is fairly awkward. I hate to do this, but before you leave, you really should go to the bucket exhibit. You see, there's a surprise I was going to spring on you later, and it involves the bucket. And I really do hate
I
to break the illusion,
don't
but it's
know.
important that you go see the bucket.
I haven't the
okay?
foggiest
All right,
idea.
I'll get out of your hair now.
The reassurance bucket at B2. Okay. Infinite hole. Collectibles. I guess it's back here. What? Oh, there it is. When games like force you to see everything. This t-shirt is the best new feature. That's funny. This is a very clever satire.
A common complaint of the Stanley Parable was that it was confusing and paradoxical, that it engendered a chaotic sense of reckless despair in those who played it. Well, I'm happy to say that after much consideration, I've engineered a clever solution to this fundamental problem with the game. It's the Stanley Parable Reassurance Bucket. You see, Stanley, anytime you're holding the bucket, a sense of calm
Except I don't see anything.
will fill your mind and your
It's a fake bucket.
true.
Oh, sorry.
As long as you hold onto the bucket, the many disorienting contradictions of the Stanley Parable will feel perfectly normal and perhaps even comforting. You may even come to long for the gentle embrace of jarring cognitive dissonance while the bucket is in your arms. And to be honest, it's a much more convenient solution for me than actually redesigning the game to be less uncomfortable. Can you imagine what a pain in the ass that would be? Yes, the bucket is the perfect solution.
What a bother.
Give it a try.
Can I go now?
Can you feel it? The glow of comfort, even in the face of crushing despair, must already be sweeping through.
This is like the only item that the
And in
game has
fact,
given me.
Can I say that I do believe the bucket lends you an air of charisma as well? I think that just holding it has made you the slightest bit more attractive as a person. The benefits of the bucket seem to go on and on, don't they? All this and more await you in the Stanley Parable 2.
Okay. Oh yeah, I can go now. Oh, so it's like you need the bucket and then like something's gonna happen. I get
Does anyone
it.
give out awards for most enjoyable bucket in a video game? That really should be an award if it isn't already.
That's new. People are obsessed with when things are new. New is not always better. I have to tell you. That's a cool face. That's kind of cool.
So, Stanley, what do you think? Do you like all of the new features?
No.
Yes, I know it's not exactly clear yet how exactly...
If you don't, we'll change them.
...together as one single coherent video game, but I can feel it in my soul. It's going to work. There's definitely a good game in there somewhere. Say, let's do an experiment. I'll arrange
Heard that one
these new
before.
features together, and we'll see whether or not it coheres into a meaningful gameplay experience. Okay. Are you ready?
Are you ready,
Here it is.
kids?
I give you the Stanley Parable 2.
Oh. More jump. I got jumps remaining.
I mean, there's potential here, right? It's sort of... Okay, never mind. Hold on. Let me do a different arrangement. Okay, yes, this is much better. I feel good about this. Here we go.
I can't see past this
Version 2.
bucket. Oh my god.
Who am I kidding, Stanley? This isn't a coherent video game at all. It's a lot of gags. And I do very much enjoy creating gags, but they don't add up to anything. I wanted more than anything to create a sequel that would capture all the magic of the first game. I wanted fans to love it. No matter how good these gags are, they won't stand on their own. They would need the structure and the gameplay of the original. Wait, maybe that's it. I can take the original Stanley Parable and simply, well, insert a few of my new features into it. Tastefully, of course. With respect. With care for the vision and integrity of the original game. Would it possibly work? I suppose it could. But it would need a really, really tremendous title screen. A title screen that says with bold and uncompromising...
This is just what we had in the first game.
This is the Stanley Parable 2. Let me see if I can whip something up. All right, perfect. Go ahead. Take a look.
Oh my god. Let's get into it. So, this is the Stanley Parable 2. I didn't know a sequel had come out,
This
but
is the story of a man.
let's just check it out.
Stanley worked for a company in a big
There's the
building
balloons.
where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard.
This somehow became even more of an infinite loop than
telling him what buttons
the
to
original
push,
game.
how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day of every month of every year. And although others might have considered it soul-rending, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job. And Stanley was happy. And then one day, something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company
I think the
this
computers got even
this
older.
complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office.
Alright. Let's do this.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Oh my god. Yeah, baby.
Stanley felt the bucket calling to him, begging him to pick it up.
Alright, whatever.
Why was he not doing it? Stanley picked up the bucket.
It like didn't occur to me at first that it was I thought it was just like to admire and remind you of the last guy.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left.
You know, you can't recreate the past. I think this is what we're all learning. We can in the
Still,
meeting
he
room.
wasn't here.
There's no
Stanley needed the bucket's warmth and comfort now more than ever. Perhaps his boss's office was where he'd find answers.
Get Chris out of the broom closet. Who moved my desk? I have a bucket.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office. Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Crushed by the weight of this revelation, Stanley may have broken down into an emotional dumpster fire, if not for the soothing presence of the bucket.
I forget the code.
Even now, in his darkest of hours,
I already
did
forget.
the bucket's warmth and guiding light pierce the
All right,
dark
let's
clouds
listen.
of confusion and chaos. It would be with him always. The bucket would, and he would. The two of them were inseparable. At this point, Stanley was so absorbed in the tender spiritual connection he shared with the bucket that he didn't notice the keypad behind the boss's desk. Nor in his bliss of simply being near the bucket did he have any notion that the PIN number for the keypad was 2845. But Stanley guessed the correct code by sheer luck. Was it that the bucket knew all along? Was the bucket guiding him? Yes, this is certainly the most logical explanation. You found one of the miniature Stanley figurines. Remember,
my God.
no reward for collecting all of these, only the intrinsic pleasure of a job well done. You can't buy that sort of happiness, Stanley. God knows I've tried. So, I implore you to
I feel like this is my favorite thing. Them, like, totally
beautiful figurines.
overdoing collecting the collectibles. That's so funny. I miss collectibles. You know what was really good? A Hat in Time. Anyone who liked N64 collectathons, that style of game, in a way that Ukulele was not fun
The elevator
and
raced
not
downward,
a good
plummeting
spiritual
towards
successor to
an unknown
Banjo-Kazooie,
fate.
A Hat in
It would
Time
be all Stanley could do to keep himself
was.
together, if not for
It's a little bit different.
soothing him, comforting him.
It was more like,
reassuring that in this
no,
darkest
you know,
moment
it's
of
up that alley,
uncertainty,
I should
he
say.
would be
A Hat in
fine.
Time, I
The
recommend.
bucket is here for you, Stanley. Everything.
I played it on Switch, and it ran totally fine, but you can get it on Switch and PC.
Stanley and the bucket walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
Alright. I'm gonna do something different this time. I don't know what that will be, but...
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley and the bucket both wondered to themselves.
Entering mind control facility. I am the bucket. Cameras activate.
And Stanley nearly dropped the bucket in shock. Everyone in the office was being videotaped, monitored like guinea pigs. The bucket
What's the
had
difference
never
between a
seen
guinea
anything
pig and a
like this,
gopher?
And it very nearly burst into tears.
That's what I was
as
thinking,
Stanley
gopher.
cradled it gently, reassuring it that everything would be fine.
Yes. Yes.
Was the bucket under the mind control facility's influence as well? Had the bucket been told to do things it didn't wish to do? What kinds of things does a bucket want to do or not want to do in the first place?
I don't
These
want to do it.
questions raced furiously in Stanley's feeble mind.
Fired. You're fired.
No! He screamed into the bucket. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control. Never! He squeezed the bucket tighter. His one friend in the entire world. At this point, he could trust no one except for the bucket.
This is like Wilson in that Castaway movie. Wilson.
But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions. Happy, or sad, or content. Walking, eating, working, all of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he and the bucket would dismantle the controls for good.
Two best friends, Stanley and the bucket, up against the world. They high-fived in a really cool way, and the bucket made a sassy comment about taking down the system.
Yeah, the bucket. 5. So this time I think I'm gonna like commandeer it instead of turn it off. System power on.
When at last they came to the... But at the last second, the bucket jumped in and pressed the button to turn on the controls. Stanley gasped in horror. Had this been the bucket's plan all along? To take over the machine and claim the power for itself? How could the bucket have betrayed him like this? Stanley was prepared to throw the bucket away in disgust when suddenly an image appeared upon the enormous screen.
Dad? Oh.
Birds. Silly birds. The control buttons became active again.
Seagulls are really gross creatures. You imagine the stuff they play on the... Oh, silly. Imagine the type of thing they eat on the beach. Ooh. Okay.
Stanley flipped through one video of silly birds after another, and then it dawned on him. This
March of
wasn't
the
a
Penguin.
mind control facility at all. It was a facility for monitoring and surveilling silly birds all over the world.
That is a very silly
The
bird.
mind controls were only a facade to disguise its true intentions. Had the bucket known so?
Toucan Sam.
Stanley marveled at the metal genius in his hands, the one who had pointed him towards this incredible discovery. Stanley and the bucket never found freedom because they spent the rest of their lives here in this place, flipping through live streams of the silliest birds.
There are a lot of silly birds.
Of all the
It's
possible
good content.
paths his life could have taken, this one was surely the best. And Stanley was happy.
He was happy clicking numbers on clicking buttons on a keyboard, and he's happy watching birds. Whoop. All right, well, that was Stanley Parable 2, everyone. Ooh.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
This is very...
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Ah, yes, truly a room worth admiring. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Wait. What about this one?
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible
Oh,
he wasn't
this.
5 years ago.
Whoops. Oh. Wait a minute. Oh my god. Look! Yes!
Another miniature Stanley figurine. This, you know, there really must be a snappier
I might
name for
unlock
this thing.
Lanky
What about
Kong soon.
Mini stands. Stanley figs. What about Stanlerines? Yes, I think I like that. Another Stanlerine under your belt.
Woo!
But in his eagerness to prove that he is in control of the story and no one gets to tell him what to do, Stanley leapt from the platform and plunged to his death. Good job, Stanley. Everyone thinks you are very powerful.
Hey, as long as I get to decide, I don't care what happens.
All of his co-workers were gone.
Okay.
What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Oh. Chris? Inside of a sequel, a large room with stairs, something to do with stairs. Somewhere red and blue. Some stairs. It's so vague. I think I'm just gonna find it if I find it. Trust the completionist instinct. This is so funny. Figlies! Obviously. That's very curious. That
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
no, we're not doing that. Wait. Oh, yeah.
I'm going back to the name of these little Stanley figurines, and now I'm torn between Stanlerines and Figlies. What do you think, Stanley?
I like
What
the
name
Figlies.
better encapsulates the intrinsic sense of happiness
It sounds like
that you
Jiggies.
get from seeing a small number in the corner of your screen? go up?
Figlies is like, because the other one's like a huge
I'm
mouthful.
sure it will come.
Figlies rolls off the tongue a little bit better. And like any good collectible, it glowed,
But
like
Stanley
it
just couldn't do
had
it.
like a shining,
Considered the
shimmering
possibility of
sound
facing
effect
his
when you got
boss,
close to it.
admitting he had left his post during work hours. He might be
Oh,
fired
this is
for
gonna
that.
take a while.
And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished. His boss would think he was crazy. And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. All of my co-workers...
Crazy? You call me crazy? I'm not crazy, you're crazy.
No reason at all. None of it made any logical sense. And as Stanley pondered this, he began to make other strange observations. For example, why couldn't he see his feet?
I forgot to pick up Bucket.
Why did
Was
doors
Bucket even
close
there?
automatically behind him wherever he went? And for that matter, these rooms were starting to look pretty familiar. Were they simply repeating? No, Stanley said to himself, this is all too strange. This can't be real. And at last, he came to the conclusion that had been on the tip of his tongue. He just hadn't found the words for it. I'm dreaming! He yelled.
I'm not
This is
sure
all a
if there are
dream.
any paths that I haven't taken. I guess I'll do escape
Finally found
again.
an answer, an
I don't know.
explanation. His co-workers weren't actually gone. He wasn't going to lose his job. He wasn't crazy after all. And he thought to himself, I suppose
This is
I'll
gonna
wake
take
up
a while,
soon.
I think.
I'll have to go back to my boring real-life job pushing buttons. I may as well enjoy this while I'm still lucid. So, he imagined himself flying and began to gently float.
This
above the
they
ground.
don't let you skip.
Then he imagined himself soaring through space on a magical star field, and it too appeared. It was so much fun, and Stanley marveled that he had still not woken up. How was he remaining so lucid? And then perhaps the strangest question of them all entered Stanley's head. One he was amazed he hadn't asked himself sooner. Why is there a voice in my head?
They
taking
leaned so
everything
hard
that
into
I'm
this
doing
sequel
and thinking?
thing,
Now the voice was describing itself being considered by
making it the
Stanley,
exact
who
same
found it
game,
particularly strange.
with like a couple
I'm
balloons and a
dreaming about
bucket.
a voice describing
And
me,
the
thinking
Figlies,
about how it's
whatever they're
describing
called,
my
the
thoughts,
Stanlerines.
he thought. And while he thought it all very odd, and wondered if this voice spoke to all people in their dreams, the truth was that, of course, this was not a dream. How could it be? Was Stanley
Just
simply
gonna chill for a
deceiving
little
himself,
bit.
believing that if he's asleep, he doesn't have to take responsibility for himself? Stanley is as awake right now as he's ever been in his life. Now, hearing the voice speak these words was quite a shock to Stanley. After all, he knew for certain, beyond a doubt, that this was in fact a dream. Did the voice not see him float and make the magical stars just a moment ago? How else would the voice explain all that? This voice was a part of himself too. Surely, if he could just... He would prove it. He would prove that he was in control, that this was a dream. So he closed his eyes gently, and he invited himself to wake up. He felt
Wake
the weight
up.
of the blanket on his skin, the press of the mattress on his back, the fresh air of the world outside this one. Let me wake up, he thought to himself. I'm through with this dream. I wish it to be over. Let me go back to my job. Let me continue pushing the buttons. Please, it's all I want. I want my apartment, and my wife, and my job. All I want is my life exactly the way it's always been.
My wife.
My life is normal. I am normal. Everything will be fine.
Normal is good.
I am okay.
Alright, let's move a little bit.
Stanley began screaming. Please, someone, wake me up. My name is Stanley. I have a boss. I have an office. I am real. Please, just someone tell me I am real. I must be real. I must be. Can anyone hear my voice? Who am I? Who am I? And everything went black.
Sorry, I asked.
This is the story of a woman named Mariella. Mariella woke up on a day like any other. She arose, got dressed, gathered her belongings, and walked to her place.
Yeah, this is the crazy dead guy
On this
ending.
particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. And although she would soon turn to go call for an ambulance, for just a few brief moments, she considered the strange man. He was obviously crazy. This much she knew. Everyone knows what crazy people look like. And in that moment, she thought to herself how lucky she was to be normal. I am sane. I am in control of my mind. I know what is real and what isn't. It was comforting to think this, and in a certain way, seeing this man made her feel better. But then she remembered the meeting she had scheduled for that day. The very important people whose impressions of her would affect her career, and by extension, the rest of her life. She had no time for this.
It's interesting, too, how
she stood there,
being made to
staring
rewatch
down
this has sort of
and then she turned.
reinforced the idea that this can only really be clever once. Or, I guess it's always clever, but it can only hit you that same way once. Alright, I'm gonna take Bucket.
Wait, no. This isn't the right office, is it? Is this? Stanley lifted the bucket into his arms, and a wave of comfort rushed over him.
I wasn't even paying attention. Alright, I'm gonna go right.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be.
And I'm gonna not go to that.
And here it was. Had the bucket
Boxes
turned out to be
area.
correct? Was it no?
I'm gonna jump
Mind.
in this.
The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room. And so the two of them detoured through the maintenance section and walked straight ahead to the opposite door.
No. No. Not this time.
Oh, good Stanley. I'm glad you found your way here. I knew you'd find this place eventually.
Oh.
You see, your friends and I are concerned with you, sir. We've come together
I love
here
that
because
line.
we care about you very much.
Signposted.
It's this bucket you're carrying around everywhere. The bucket isn't even from the original Stanley Parable. It's just sequel content. We're the ones that matter, Stanley. Classic characters from the first game, like the Adventure Line and the Broom Closet. Because that's what fans want from a sequel. They want more of their favorite jokes, not this bucket that they've never seen before. Yes, I know I'm the one who gave you the bucket, but you're spending too much time with it. Don't you want another story involving the Adventure Line? We could make the Adventure Line go somewhere new. Yes, yes, that's what the fans want. Let's do it.
What? Follow the signpost.
Whee! Look at that wacky line. Who knows where it'll go off to next? Oh, and it played some silly music as well. Now this is what the Stanley Parable is all about. Don't you remember all those great jokes from the original dialogue?
This looks like
Stanley is addicted
Portal.
to drugs and hookers.
Yes, it's as classic now as it was back then. Let's do it for the fans, Stanley. Let's give them more content exactly like this. But if we want to do that, you're going to have to give something up.
Bucket?
Don't you get it, Stanley? We need to get rid of the bucket. That's why I'm very proud to introduce a brand new character. This is the Bucket Destroyer. I think it'll make a wonderful new addition to the rich lore of the Stanley Parable. True, it also was not in the original game, but it's such a well-fleshed-out character with so much personality that to me it already feels as though it's been part of the cast all along. Don't
This
you
game really
agree?
makes you think about like the components of
Can you
things.
guess what the Bucket Destroyer does?
No!
You don't need me to spell it out for you. Go ahead now, Stanley. Say goodbye to the bucket, and then pop it into the machine when you're ready.
I don't think Bucket wants to
Now
go
listen
in.
to me. It's crucial that you give it the bucket. I
Thing's so
don't know
ridiculous.
what the bucket destroyer will do if it can't destroy your bucket. Destroying buckets is all it knows. That is its singular personality trait.
It's a very interesting
So
machine.
I can hear you saying, how does a character with only one personality trait deserve to join the pantheon of beloved Stanley Parable characters? Well, you see, if you were to really explore the Bucket Destroyer, you would see that its desire to crush buckets is so densely loaded with complexity and nuance that it's really like 10 personality traits. What other object in this game can you even say that about? The broom closet? Certainly not. I wonder what sort of Bucket Destroyer merchandise the fans will be clamoring for after this. Okay, the Bucket Destroyer is getting very upset now. You'll have to hurry and feed it. We can't get back to the classic
game's not letting
like
me.
the Adventure Line or the Bucket Destroyer until you crush that damn bucket. Quickly now, the fans are waiting. Do it, the fans, Stanley. Give the fans what they want. Hurry.
This is so dramatic. Jeez.
Bucket Destroyer, my prized creation. You had so much potential. We were going to do such marvelous things with you, tell such spellbinding stories about you. All of it squandered now. Goodbye, new friend. For the moment in time that you were here, you were magnificent.
That was ridiculous. All right, one more.
The confusion and the chaos all seemed to melt away. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left. Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office.
Yeah, let's fucking go.
Stanley, you've nearly gotten all of the Figler and Marines. Very soon, you'll collect the last one, and then the first number will equal the second number, and that will be it. We'll be different people by then. Different in the sense that we used to have none of them. And now we have them all. You can't go back to when you had no Figler and Marines. None of us can.
Okay. Sugar in the morning, sugar in the evening, sugar at supper time.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. But Stanley guessed the correct code by sheer luck. Was it that the bucket knew all along? Was the bucket guiding him? Yes, this is certainly the most logical explanation.
Ugh. Where's red and blue? Where would that last collectible be?
Stanley and the bucket walked straight ahead through the large door that read,
Maybe this way.
Mind Control Although this passageway had the word escape written on it, the truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley and the bucket would both meet a violent death. The door behind them was not shut. Stanley and the bucket still had every opportunity to turn around and get back on track. At this point, Stanley and the bucket were knowingly walking forward into a very painful death for each of them.
Down we go. Oop.
As the machine whirred into motion and Stanley and the bucket inched closer to their demise, Stanley reflected on how meaningless the bucket's warmth and comfort.
I forget if it's gonna kill me or
To be
not.
sure, it puts the mind and the soul at ease to embrace the bucket. But what use is a sense of ease when you're about to be crushed to death? This is what Stanley thought to himself, and he sort of kicked himself for wasting so much time carrying a bucket everywhere. Farewell, Stanley.
"Farewell, Stanley," cried the narrator, as Stanley and the bucket were led helplessly into the enormous metal jaws. In a single visceral instant, the bucket's life came to an end, as it was crushed violently to death. It was a shame, the death of such a magnificent bucket. It's true that all buckets are radiant in their own way, but this one stood above the rest. It was a glorious bucket to behold.
The bucket. It's totally crazy.
Can you see how arrogant it was for Stanley to take a bucket like this and to claim it for his own? Can you see the hubris that blinded him? Can you see that the bucket is far more noble than Stanley will ever be in his short life?
This is interesting. Whatever.
No man can own a bucket, and certainly not a bucket as dazzling to behold as this one. It is man who should kneel before the bucket.
Okay. Oh. They tricked me. Okay.
But there is something we can do. Something we can do together, you and I, that will right this terrible wrong. Let Stanley die. Let him be crushed by the machine. Don't reset the game. Don't give him another opportunity to run off with another beautiful bucket. We can save the world's buckets from their treatment as tools and implements if only we let Stanley die together. The bucket shall take its place as ruler, as leader, as commander of a new world, a new vision.
All right. That's enough for now. I'm not sure if I'm to keep playing this, but I think that was a good taste of the Stanley Parable and the Ultra Deluxe follow-up, Stanley Parable 2. We'll be back tomorrow with another, and the sequel is now paused. And that's good. Catch you soon.